All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. So it's almost 4 years to the day that USC sent shockwaves through the college football world when they were able to lure Lincoln Riley off of the plains in Oklahoma with a big bag of cash, as well as that Southern California lifestyle. However, 4 years later, the men of Troy are no closer to being back on the national scene than they were before Riley came to Los Angeles. So, with this past Saturday's loss to Oregon, it all but ensures that USC will once again miss out on getting to the college football playoff, as they basically coming into this past weekend, they needed to win out, since they're not going to have a chance to win the Big Ten. And at this point, it really doesn't matter if the Trojans are either in the Pac-12 or the Big Ten. This program continues to underwhelm. Okay. Now, in nearly 4 seasons under Lincoln Riley, his record at USC is 34 and 17, while he's 23 and 12 within conference play. Riley's best season at USC was his first season back in 2022, when we saw the men of Troy get off to an 11 and 1 start before they lost to Utah in the Pac 12 championship game. And then, of course, a surprising loss to Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. Now, the men of Troy do have an opportunity to finish this season with a record of 7 and 2 within the Big Ten, should they knock off arch rival UCLA this coming Saturday at the Coliseum. But honestly, that's of little consolation to the Trojan backers who are longing to once again see USC compete for the national title. So you ask yourself, why have things not gone as expected for Lincoln Riley so far at USC? Uh, you think about it, he was brought in with a lot of expectations, somebody who was going to really reignite this program on the West Coast. And of course, we saw Riley dominate during his time at Oklahoma. In 5 years at Oklahoma, he was 55 and 10, going 37 and 7 in the Big 12. And of course, already in one less year, he has more conference losses than he did at Oklahoma. And he has more losses, period, than he had at Oklahoma. Make no mistake about it. Pac 12, old Pac 12, as well as the Big Ten are stronger than the weaker Big 12 at the time. Okay. That's one thing. I will also say you maybe want to give Lincoln Riley a bit of a mulligan for the transition from the Pac 12 to the Big Ten. Okay. With that said, this team is still underwhelmed. And I say this because USC has consistently come up short against the big teams. So far in the Big Ten, SC is a combined 1 and 2 against Michigan and Penn State, including losing to Penn State at home last year. Okay, so far they split with Michigan. Michigan won in the Big House last year. They went to the Coliseum this year, and the Trojans got the best of them. We've yet to see USC have to face Ohio State so far since coming to the Big Ten. And guess what? In the old Pac-12, we saw SC consistently struggle with Oregon and Washington. That is once again carried over to this new league. Last year, we saw USC lose to Washington. We just saw USC lose to Oregon. And guess what? They've got to play both of them next year. So for me, if USC is going to, figure out a way to take that step back to national prominence, they've got to go out there and beat the top tier teams. Now, I'll say this for the most part under Lincoln Riley. His teams have been able to beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, at least last year, or pardon me, this year rather, and his first year at USC. 2023 was a nightmare. That team lacked chemistry. And then, of course, last year, the expectations were somewhat higher for USC going into the season. And then they had to limp to a 7-6 finish. Now, SC is 8-3 so far this season. They have a chance to finish 9-3 in the regular season, go to a bowl game, and possibly be 10-3. Still a good season, but it's not good enough if you think about the expectations for this program under Lincoln Riley, as well as the financial compensation that he is getting from this school as well. So I guarantee, like I said before, the folks that are backing this program, the folks that are following this program, they don't want to hear it. You look at USC's 3 losses this season. They lost by 2 at the end of September on the road in Champaign against Illinois. They lost by 10 last month to Notre Dame. And then, of course, they just lost this past Saturday by 15 in Eugene to Washington. So it's one of those where one can say, you know what? Well, SC has struggled on the road a little bit in the Big Ten. I get it, but you know what? They knew what they signed up for. Okay. And if you're USC, you want to go out there and win those games. Lincoln Riley has not found a way to get this team over the hump. So far under Lincoln Riley, the USC is good or has been good at times, but it's not been good enough. Even going back to his first year in Los Angeles. Of course, that was Caleb Williams' Heisman year at quarterback for the men of Troy. SC was rolling. We saw Caleb Williams get injured with that hamstring in the Pac-12 championship game, and Utah would go on to have a field day from that point, denying the men of Troy an opportunity to get to the college football playoff. Again, like I said before, I feel like SC, they're not closer to being a contender than they were at the beginning of the Lincoln Riley era in Los Angeles. Remember, we saw this USC program, the USC backers, if you will, run Clay Helton out of town. Clay Helton, I will say about this, he was the last SC head coach to win a Rose Bowl. He was also the last SC coach to win the Pac-12. He did that back in 2017. He did have some lean years, do not get me wrong, but I always said this about Clay Helton. I felt like he was a guy that was never fully accepted at USC, in my opinion, okay? Because as soon as Clay Helton lost the game, Clay Helton was on the hot seat, okay? But nonetheless, I feel like, you know, with the long-term deal that Lincoln Riley got, and of course the big money that Lincoln Riley got to come from Norman to Los Angeles, he's comfortable. Okay. And of course, he feels like he has that long term job security because, just for the sake of argument, okay, I don't see, and I could be wrong on this, but I don't see USC being willing to pay Lincoln Riley money to go away and then go out there and get somebody else. And of course, in this current, coaching cycle, who else are you going to get? So Lincoln Riley has to fix it. And I will say this: I think Lincoln Riley has taken steps. SC has been better defensively at times this season. Of course, we saw them get Dan Lynn, the former UCLA defensive coordinator, come across town and work with them. It's one of those where SC, I think, is a solid team, but they're still not solid enough to get over that hump. And that hump is what Lincoln Riley was brought to Los Angeles to do, to get the Trojans back into that national prominence, and he hasn't done it. Now, I'll tell you like this. SC, for the most part, had a favorable schedule this year, and they still couldn't get it done. Next year is going to be a lot harder for the men of Troy. Why? We're talking about road games against Indiana, road games, a road game at Penn State, home games with Ohio State, Oregon, Washington, and Notre Dame. And of course, Notre Dame has been up in questions, if you will, recently, because there's been rumors about SC and Riley looking to come off of that rivalry, which I don't think that they should. I think the USC Notre Dame rivalry is great for college football. I think it's great for both schools because guess what? Both of these schools are vying for college football playoff spots, and the win definitely helps the other one. But of course, recently, this rivalry has been leaning towards Notre Dame. We saw Notre Dame come to Los Angeles last year and beat SC en route to getting to the college football playoff. And then, of course, we just saw the Fighting Irish last month hold serve in South Bend against the men of Troy. But again, I'm not trying to sound like a broken record, but this is what Lincoln Riley was brought to USC to do, and he has not done it as far as beating the top tier teams. And unless Lincoln Riley can find a way to have his club beat the top tier teams, USC is going to consistently be on the outside looking in of the postseason picture. And I know there's talks about expanding the college football playoff, which I think is dumb, but nonetheless, make these games matter. And nonetheless, if you're SC, this is what you're going to have to do to get over that hump. So you ask yourself, well, there's a couple of questions right here. Because one can say, well, you know what, USC hasn't had a lot of success in the Big Ten so far. It's 2 years. They went 7-2 this year. Or they possibly can go 7-2. They're 6-2. But nonetheless, was it a mistake for them to break up the Pac-12? I truly think so, but that's neither here nor there. This is the bed that UCLA made, pardon me, USC made. Please forgive me for that. But it's the bed that USC made, and they're going to have to lie in it. And of course, they know that they're in the Big Ten. That they know what they have to deal with, the cross-country trips, dealing with some of the heavyweights in the sport. They've got to go out there and take care of their business. But remember, even in the old Pac-12, SC was not always taking care of their business against the Arizonas, Arizona States, Utahs of the world, and of course the Oregons and the Washingtons. So shorter trip, but SC was still not taking care of the business. Longer trips now, USC has to find a way to get over that hump. You lose a noon start back in September in Champaign to Illinois. This is what you signed up for. You've got to have your team ready to go out there and take care of the Illini. Saturday night game in South Bend. Notre Dame's not an easy opponent, but you still got to go out there and try to take care of your business. And again, you knew everything that was on the line going up to Eugene to take on Oregon this past Saturday. Again, these are the teams, these are the games that SC needs to win, and Lincoln Riley has not found a way to do it so far. So you ask yourself, what is next for the men of Troy? Well, Lincoln Riley does have a solid offense at USC, but he's still not getting the quality recruits, like we've seen USC get in their heyday. They're not dominating the state of California like they did once upon a time. And that's big for this program because, of course, there was a time in college football where all USC had to say to any kid in the state of California was like, hey, come play for us. And it was a no-brainer. That is no longer the case. They've got competition, of course, with the Oregons, with the Washingtons of the world, other Big Ten schools, SEC schools, you name it. It's a wide open slate, and USC has to find a way to ward off everybody else in their backyard to get those kids, not only in offense, but defense, because we're not seeing all of the impact players like we did once upon a time defensively for USC. Bishop Fitzgerald is having a great season this year, folks, playing safety for the Trojans. But nonetheless, they need to get back to getting those impact players. These are the things that Lincoln Riley was brought to USC to do. And guess what? He has not been able to do it. So I'm looking at this team, and of course, it's about to, he's about to finish off his fourth year. There's a lot of questions around this program. And again, next year's schedule is not going to be easy. But again, this is what USC is going to have to deal with. This is what they signed up for in the Big Ten. This is what they signed up for with Lincoln Riley to go out there and get them over that hump. So I'm looking at the Trojans. They're still not in that top tier of programs where they want to be. And I guarantee you, going into next season, regardless of how much, financial commitment, how many years have been committed to Lincoln Riley on his deal, if he's still the head coach of USC going into next season and the Trojans underachieve, I guarantee you there's going to be some folks that follow this program in the greater Los Angeles area that are going to be looking for a change. 4 years for Lincoln Riley, no conference championships, no college football playoff appearances. And of course, if you're USC, with all of the commitment that you have given to Lincoln Riley to lead your program, it has definitely not been a solid return on investment. So let's see. After the Trojans' playoff hopes were dashed with the loss to Oregon last Saturday, Let's see how they finish this Saturday with UCLA. Let's see how they look in the bowl game. Let's see what they could do on the recruiting trail and the transfer portal going into next season. And let's see if SC has what it takes to take that next step. But so far, some people want to say USC is close, but close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, my friends. The bottom line is you got to take care of your business consistently on Saturdays. Lincoln Riley and company have not been able to do that enough, and that is why the Trojans are once again on the outside looking in of the playoff picture. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. And as always, if you like what you heard and saw in this podcast, you know what to do. Just hit that like button as well as subscribing to this channel. And like I always say, it's greatly appreciated. Definitely stay tuned to this channel throughout this week because I've got a litany of things to talk about in the college football world as well as the world of the National Football League. The race, the countdown for the college football playoff is coming close, and of course, the home stretch, if you will, to get to the playoffs in the National Football League is right around the corner as well. So definitely keep checking me out as I got a lot to talk about football-wise. Also, if you are on the X, formerly known as Twitter, be sure to check me out anytime at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you give me that follow, it'll be my pleasure to do the same in return. And that also goes for Instagram, and you can check me out at 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge. Also, if you're on Facebook, definitely be sure to check out the Sports Depot 365. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the better sports groups going on social media. But until next time, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying thanks once again for checking out the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Be well, everybody.